Welcome to Innovation in Undergraduate Education, a CUR and UERU virtual town hall. My name's Steve Dandino, and I serve as Executive Director of UERU and Associate Provost at Colorado State University, which is the host of UERU. As I'm sure everyone appreciates, undergraduate research is at the heart of the 1998 Boyer Commission report, Reinventing Undergraduate Education, a blueprint for America's universities, research universities, and as I'm sure everyone appreciates, the Council of Undergraduate Research, often called CUR, is the nation's largest, most influential, and most well-regarded higher ed organization, aiming, in CUR's own words, to support and promote high-quality, mentored undergraduate research, scholarship, and creative inquiry. So UERU is so grateful to CUR for collaborating to present today's town hall, which will be moderated by CUR Executive Director Lindsay Currie and CUR immediate past president Bethany Usher, who, by the way, is a former UERU UVP at George Mason University, as many of you know, and who also serves as the lead faculty for UERU's Lamborn-Hughes Institute. We join them in expressing gratitude to CUR and UERU colleagues from University of Missouri, Virginia Commonwealth University, and Morgan State University. This town hall, as you know, is recorded and will be posted at UERU's website. We also will encourage Q&A. Use raise hand function, please, toward the end of today's town hall. And you can also use the chat if you'd like in the meantime. So without further ado, let me turn the floor over with great thanks to Bethany.
Thanks, Steve, and thanks for inviting us to be here. It is really exciting, and I am glad to see so many people that I know and so many new faces here in the audience today. And I am super excited to be able to talk about the sort of the idea of sort of where we are and where we're going with undergraduate research and the innovations that have happened and as we go forward. But I also want to think we've got four speakers from our partner institutions across the country. Jim Spain is joining us. He's the Vice Provost for Undergraduate Studies at the University of Missouri. And working with him, although not here today, is our newly elected president, who's going to be joining us later. So I'm super excited that Missouri is so well represented. Herb Hill, who is the Director of Undergraduate Research and Creative Inquiry at Virginia Commonwealth University, and Lisa Brown and Ryan Maltese, who are both coming from Morgan State University. Lisa is the Director of Undergraduate Research, and Ryan is the Associate Vice President for Student Success and Retention. So we'll be hearing from them after hearing from me and from Lindsay as we do a little bit of giving context. I wanted to give a short history of undergraduate research sort of in the recent past, and to be able to help set this up as this conversation about what we're looking at research universities. Undergraduate research really has been a part of American education for a long time, especially in elite universities where students did theses, and often in primarily undergraduate institutions where faculty were able to keep their research agendas going with high teaching loads by integrating that often in the sciences. And early on, the National Science Foundation supported undergraduates being involved in research through the 50s, through the 70s, through internship programs that came through their grant funding. But a former reduction in size at NSF by a former president took out funding for undergraduates for a while, and so it didn't start again to be funded until 1987 through the research experiences for undergraduates at that point. And so it's really starting in the 80s moving forward, there started to be a real institutionalization of undergraduate research. And it started really in the sciences where students, especially elite students who were being expected to move on to working in research universities, like the future faculty kind of program. But along the same time, there began to be research that was showing that participation in undergraduate research was valuable for every student who participated in it. And there was some work at the University of Michigan with Sandy Gregerman that was really showing that participation in early undergraduate research by students who may not have been the ones that faculty would have picked to begin with were the ones who actually had their trajectories changed, while undergraduate research participation for students who were already coming from elite backgrounds didn't necessarily would enhance their experience, but didn't necessarily change their trajectory. And so there began to be a movement with the leadership of the Council on Undergraduate Research and NSF and AAC&U and others to really expand undergraduate research as an activity at universities. And CUR ran a workshop institutionalizing and sustaining undergraduate research programs that formed. I actually did some research ahead of when I actually ran one of these institutes at the University of Missouri a few years ago with Linda Blockus, um, on the impact of the ones before that. And there had been something like 150 institutions whose nascent undergraduate research institutional programs had been founded through participation in one of those workshops. And so through the 80s, 90s, and the early 2000s, institutions began to broaden participation in undergraduate research, and that came through multiple areas. It came through looking at undergraduate research not only in these private PUIs, but in large research universities, in HBCUs, in public regional universities, and in addition, broadening the picture of undergraduate research so that we were thinking about undergraduate research for all, aligned with what Steve's talked about with UERU, about the idea of equity and excellence. So thinking about a disciplinary broad breadth, making sure that we were talking about research that counted as the scholarship for faculty being appropriately scaled for students and being offered to students in every discipline. Looking at making sure that we were looking at students who weren't necessarily understanding the value of undergraduate research as a pedagogical process. So it wasn't just about launching into graduate school, but also the idea of undergraduate research being an important part of a developmental process. And so by 2003, the US News and World Report rankings included, as much as I've got problems with the rankings, it began to include a way of being able to recognize universities that were doing undergraduate research. And in 2008, George Koo published through AAC&U the really seminal work that started identifying high impact practices that had these features that supported student success, and undergraduate research was included as a part of that. From there, as we got further forward, even the National Academy of Sciences in 2007 did a research project and study and published strengthening research experiences for undergraduates at STEM students. But a lot of the work they were doing is applicable to the broadening participation in generally. And anecdotally, by 2017, when my first daughter was going to college, as we started getting the emails and the paper things and so forth, not as, and of course I was surveying these as they were all coming through because I am an anthropologist and can be a participant observer with the best of them. I was reading through, and she didn't get a single flyer or solicitation from a single university that didn't mention their undergraduate research programs as a part of the way of selling the process. And in some ways that was really meaning that we were looking at research universities and privates. It meant that in a lot of ways, CUR had been really successful in working across all these organizations to make sure that we had institutionalized and been able to make the value of undergraduate research visible as a general part of the college education. So we're at that point now, and we're thinking about where are we innovating. A lot of the things we're looking at now are expanding that. One is looking at undergraduate research, not just as a standalone single mentored project, but how is this being integrated across the curriculum and the skills being the research skills and research mindset, the inquiry mindset being built across the curriculum. Some of the things we're also looking at is things like undergraduate research and sort of non-traditional research experiences like community colleges, and the alignment, especially as the conversation has moved more towards outcomes and especially employment, the idea of alignment of the skills that you build in undergraduate research with career skills. But beyond that, we also have some challenges that we're facing as we move forward. And I know a lot of the institutions we're going to hear from today are going to be talking about how they're addressing these. As Steve talked about, funding and training for the future scientists and academic professionals of the future has become a major issue, and thinking about how we're supporting this moving forward. But in a larger sense, that value of creation of new knowledge, creativity and innovation, for undergraduates being a skill that's being built and valued. Um, and part of that also comes with this, if we move too far from thinking about being able to articulate the skills that students learn in undergraduate research to moving too far to a vocational perspective, especially the things that I see with a real emphasis on dual enrollment, and these 3-year bachelor's degrees and things that start reducing the undergraduate experience back down to a number of credits you need to graduate and to do it as quickly as possible. It is inequitable as to who then gets to participate in the things that create a holistic preparation and development. So I think that and if we think about those things maybe being there to stay, how do we continue to build a mindset, especially in research universities, where undergraduates being able to be aligned with the mission of the institution is really fundamental to what you need to be doing. And so that's the point we're at now. And CUR really, it's fun because I'm sort of handing over a new strategic plan to the next generation of leaders in CUR. And it's an exciting time to be thinking about how do we build on these strengths and address these challenges. And with that, I want to hand it over to Lindsay to be able to sort of talk about where CUR is and where we're going with this.
Thank you, Bethany. Happy Thursday, everyone that is with us. It's good to see so many faces and supporters of current undergraduate research here. I have the pleasure of serving as the Executive Officer at the Council on Undergraduate Research. And Bethany, thank you for that beautiful historical overview. I am a historian by trade, and so it was so nice to have that be our kickoff, so thank you. So much has happened in the past 40 years plus of CUR's history, and kind of the naming of undergraduate research as a high impact practice, and how we got to where we are today. Steve shared earlier, our mission is to support and advance high quality mentored undergraduate research scholarship and creative inquiry. And we do that, through programs and conferences, but really, so much more of that is through this kind of community of practice that CUR is. And it's a network of change makers. Bethany is a great example. We're not letting her go too far, even though her presidential term is just about over. We serve as national advocates for the role that research is playing in students and institutional success. And I think we all know that is a critical role we are playing here today. Anybody watching the Big Beautiful Bill knows that undergraduate research and research in general is something that we need to be out advocating for. But at this point, let's talk about it on an hourly basis. It's not even daily anymore. And that goes back to centering this on the people that are making it possible, not just for CUR, but for undergraduate research. It's your faculty, it's you as institutional leaders, the mentors and the architects that are the lifeblood of undergraduate research, right? And CUR exists to really support you and that work. We offer professional development, as I said, conferences, but a community. And we just released last year an updated framework of the characteristics of excellence in undergraduate research, which really is serving to help align undergraduate research. What is success, defining what is equity, what are the strategic goals that institutions should be considering as they roll these pieces out. And you'll be hearing from the team at the University of Missouri soon. And Linda Blockus, who will be joining our presidential line, was critical in the development of both that updated version that came out last year and its initial instruction kind of 12 years ago, right? That it really set the stage for how CUR is evaluating, assessing, and supporting undergraduate research programs. We have awards and program reviews all tied to this consistent infrastructure, which we are deeming as, again, those characteristics of excellence. And then we host Connect UR, which is our annual conference, which takes place at the end of June, where we're bringing together faculty and administrators from all institutions to talk about what is working, addressing what is hard, right? We know that collaboration is really key to the success of undergraduate research, sharing those models and samples, talking about what grant funding or alternatives you're now finding, and having that place for the people doing that work. Because we know that these are system level changes that organizations are going through. Last year, we put out a report from a long work with an NSF grant on scaffolding undergraduate research through the curriculum. And we know that with tight budgets, right, integrating it into the curriculum is a great opportunity. And so providing resources and guides to the community to be able to do that is really important. In addition, again, we're continuing to work with federal agencies, private foundations, disciplinary associations to really champion this work, ensure it's prioritized in funding, policy, and strategic planning development. And want you all to know that CUR is here for you, but we're also here for your students. For those of you that are not aware, CUR puts on the National Conference for Undergraduate Research each year. It's the largest student conference. We just had 4,700 people in Pittsburgh presenting undergraduate research across all disciplines, talking about what their future lies, what is their path to graduate school, what is their path to employment, and bringing in those those graduate schools and then those employers to talk to students. So it is more than just coming and presenting a poster, but it's really ensuring that we're supporting that full student and that they're connecting to other students. We have a fabulous program, Scholars Transforming Through Research, which is an advocacy development program for students and faculty, because we know that civically engaged researchers are important, and giving them the skills to advocate for the outcomes of their research, to talk about the impact it has had on them and their careers. And so I'm just so excited that so many of the superstars of CUR and undergraduate research are here today to tell you some of their stories and to share what they're doing, so you can think about bringing it back to your campus and implementing it. And with that, I'm going to kick it off to Dr. Jim Spain from the University of Missouri to tell us a little bit about what is going on their campus.
Thanks, Lindsay, and you all have heard Linda Blockus's name a fair number of times, and unfortunately, she's not available to participate. So I'm second best, if you will. Linda's actually at Georgia Tech participating in a program review that's part of CUR. So I'm excited to have her there, providing her expertise, sharing her expertise, but also learning some things and gaining some ideas. So good morning to some, good afternoon to others from Mizzou, where we are a flagship university founded in 1839, becoming a land-grant university in 1870, which is now home to a vet school, a med school, a law school, and the largest nuclear research reactor in the country, which we're excited to with plans to expand. Let's see. We should be able to advance. We practiced. Why isn't it advancing? Well, rats. Let's try it a different way, friends. My apologies. And Steve had us practice. Steve, you had us practice.
This always happens, Jim. Let's try it again.
Yeah, we're working. We're not going to give up. There we go. And, you know, as Bethany walked through the history, it struck me, and these slides have Linda Blockus's fingerprints all over them, because she actually founded all of the things. She was the initial leader of all the things that Mizzou has been able to accomplish. Our undergraduate research initiative started with an HHMI grant and McNair grant funding. And then in '93, the campus made a strategic investment in life sciences for undergraduate research opportunity, which Dr. Blockus led. And then in 2003, that morphed into our Office of Undergraduate Research, or OUR. At that time, it was a joint between the Office of Research, the Division of Biological Sciences and Undergraduate Studies. And currently today, it reports directly to the Vice Provost for Undergraduate Studies. And as of 6/15, we're going to go from 3 to 4 FTE. It is a central collaborative incubator office that really tries to help and support fill gaps and add value without competing with existing programs like McNair, like with our Honors College and the college level. We're very decentralized. I expect many of you recognize that. and the unique challenges that that creates, but also the unique opportunities. The Office of Undergraduate Research has also been essential in providing umbrella educational programs to support 8 to 12 summer programs that host between 80 and 120 MU and visiting students in the summer. Where it's headed, our new strategic plan for student success identifies a strategic goal of achieving 100% participation of our graduating seniors in 3 high-impact practices, and that includes undergraduate research, and I've got a little more detail on that. But first, some things that, again, we've already been working on. It's well established. Our FRIPS, Freshman Research in Plants. This is a program that was a concept that Dr. Blockus launched. It's a great partnership with faculty in plant sciences. The PowerPoint that we'll be sharing has several links to stories that give you a lot more depth, but this allows us to involve freshmen right out of the gate their first semester in some research opportunities. Our Visual Arts and Design Showcase is a place for us to sponsor a juried show where we bring in 3 professional artists and designers to act as a jury and provide individual feedback to students. This past year, we celebrated our 10-year anniversary. So OUR has gone from a life sciences base to now really trying to stretch into a much broader footprint to not only be what would be considered traditional undergraduate research, but the creative and scholarly activity. We've recently added 60 faculty liaisons, either volunteered or voluntold. We're about 18 months into this program. And what this does is creates a grassroots network of faculty in the different schools and colleges. So when a student contacts OUR and they're in econ, then we can hand the student off to the faculty member in econ who can be their guide instead of us referring a student to a faculty list and wishing the student some luck in finding a person. Because of our campus goal with the high impact practices, this past June 24, we instituted a HIPS Summer Institute for faculty, where we worked with faculty to help them understand how to engage in undergraduate research and research intensive courses. As Bethany mentioned earlier, this baking it into the curriculum is one of our strategic goals and tactics. Community engaged learning or service learning, writing intensive courses in freshman interest groups. We had over 80 faculty attend in June, and the outcomes of this and this summer institute has been fabulous, and we're going to re-up it. Second annual will be this August. Out of that summer institute, we developed a community of practice, which involved 42 faculty, so they continue to meet and to share ideas and to bounce ideas and to find new ways and new ideas. And then this fall, we'll be launching a campus-wide high-impact practice council. And we have several stories that'll be in the PowerPoint to link to. So far, in a very new process, we've got 12 approved research-intensive courses. The picture here on the right is one of our anthropology courses, 42824, which is a partnership with MoDOT, where these students are dating and cataloging artifacts that come from Missouri Department of Transportation work sites. And the goal is to triple the number of research-intensive courses, and our ultimate goal is that every academic program at Mizzou will have at least one research-intensive course. We also are very intentional in reaching out to freshmen. All of our incoming freshmen are going to complete a pre-advising questionnaire. About 22% of our incoming students indicate an interest in undergraduate research. Bethany, I think that means that they're reading the recruitment material that we're sending to them. And then we are very intentional in trying to follow up with those students in partnership with our departmental liaisons, as well as our partners in TRIO and our First Generation Initiatives Office. And then we also conduct a fall research fair on the Friday before classes start, or academic day, where we're able to really promote. We hosted 9 lab tours last year, and almost 269, almost 270 students attended on the Friday before classes start. And our newest initiative, and we just rolled this out in April to faculty, is our adoption of Forger One, which is I call it, I describe it as an e-harmony for students looking for faculty mentors, and faculty mentors looking for students, and faculty research or faculty scholars looking for collaborators. I'll best describe it as we're pulling the curtain back. We're going to empower students. We're going to shine a light on the hidden curriculum, and already we have 282 faculty who've signed into their account and 150 faculty who've added keywords, and we'll be rolling this out in the fall to our incoming class. So from that very personal research initiative to the research posters and the public scholarship that we want to encourage across all of our undergraduate research and creative scholarship. It's a core piece of Mizzou's undergraduate curriculum, and really pleased to have the opportunity to share a bit with you today. And so next up is our colleague Herb Hill from VCU. Herb, welcome to the party.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Yeah, so my name is Herb Hill. I'm Director of Undergraduate Research. And just recently, this past year, vertically integrated projects at VCU. I've been doing this work for 15 years now, and it was really important to me that I say everything I'm going to talk about today is the result of over 15 years of work. You know, lots of advocacy, lots of collaboration, lots of kicking and screaming along the way too, folks. And when I first started in 2010, I attended a lot of conferences and panels like this where folks were rightfully sharing their successes. But I honestly wondered at that time if I'd ever be able to make it to that point with our campus. I remember a previous supervisor telling me that it could take a lifetime to do at VCU what I really wanted to accomplish here. And it turns out it only took a decade and a half. But sometimes it felt like a lifetime. So I just wanted to say that to those of you who may be at an earlier point in your own evolutionary timeline at your campuses, to hang in there and keep at it. You know, we're all going to make it, and a lot of that is due to organizations like CUR and UERU that have been really guiding lights for me, and I'm really appreciative of them throughout this journey. So I thought I'd start by talking a little bit about how we define undergraduate research at VCU now, and this has evolved over the years. But what we're really talking about when we talk about undergraduate research is a spectrum of learning experiences characterized by hands-on investigation, inquiry, and discovery, emphasizing interdisciplinarity, practical problem solving, and ultimately generation and contribution of new knowledge and its potential application in real-world scenarios. So for us, that encompasses both inside and outside of the classroom, and the definition of academic research as we all know it, which is really pointing to that foundational CUR definition of undergraduate research, but also research supportive learning, which is from IUP, right now IUI's experiential learning taxonomy, but that's that pedagogical approach to teaching and learning, emphasizing students' engagement in research supportive and inquiry-based learning. And I was really fortunate starting here at VCU that we already had a foundation for that. We had, and still do have, a 3-semester sequence at VCU called Focused Inquiry that every freshman starts in at VCU. And that foundation, engaging those students in some of those research skills at an early level, really opened up the playing field for student access and engagement. And we had some long-running CURs that provided that foundation as well. So in 2022, we conducted an external review of undergraduate research at VCU. So we did a big institutional self-study and had 4 experts come in and basically assess what we were doing at that time, what we wanted to do moving forward, and provided some recommendations for us on how to accomplish that. So from those recommendations, I developed an action plan with the support of our provost and our vice president for research, who really saw eye to eye when it came to undergraduate research experiences. And through that plan, just proposed some methods by which to scale these research experiences, both into the curriculum, but also to expand the co-curricular experiences at the same time. And that would dovetail into my proposal for our current quality enhancement plan, which was again focused on scaling these activities in both of those domains on our campus. So over the past few years, since that external review, we've built new curricular on-ramps that include these foundational research skill building activities for our undergrads. And those credit-bearing experiences create an integrated pathway toward deeper engagement in research experiences for our students, typically in those higher level co-curricular programs and experiences that are oftentimes funded, but can also be very expensive to stand up and keep running. And this curricular integration, again, was enabled by some of our foundational courses already in place at VCU, but really kicked off with our campus-wide experiential learning initiative at an institutional level, which we called REAL, Relevant Experiential and Applied Learning. That started in 2018 under the leadership of Dr. Aaron Webster Garrett. And that initiative is now in its second phase, which we call transformative learning. These terms, I'm sure, are sounding very familiar to everybody. But it was really meant to ensure that every student at VCU would graduate with a high level, high impact experiential learning activity on their record. So this is calling back to what you guys are doing over at Mizzou, Jim. You know, really giving them the opportunity to engage with these activities across disciplines in the curriculum, in the co-curriculum, beginning with these curricular-based research supportive learning courses, which take the form of our CURs, our real research courses, our focused inquiry courses, select methods courses, new vertically integrated project courses, and our quality enhancement plan courses. Again, all the way into the co-curriculum where we expanded opportunities for students in those high impact learning experiences as well. So what is our QEP? It's called RAMPS. It's a big old nasty acronym that's really hard to get through, but I'm gonna do my best. Real world applications in multidisciplinary and project-based studies. Nobody calls it that. We fought over that acronym for weeks, but nobody uses it. Everybody calls it every Ramsar researcher. And every Ramsar researcher is really the umbrella term for our action plan at VCU when it comes to expansion of undergraduate research activities. And that was all about implementing research supportive learning and project-based learning into our what we call our Connect Ed general education courses across the disciplines. Helping to prepare students to make the most of our transformative learning opportunities on campus, but also gaining some of those foundational research skills that prepare them for deeper engagement down the road if they choose to continue engaging with research. But the intervention alone exposes them to all these other high impact practices on campus as well that kind of make up that integrated pathway that I was talking about. Next, vertically integrated projects or VIPs. If you're not familiar with the model, this originated out of engineering as a discipline, really project-based learning, where projects are defined by faculty, typically, but not always embedded in their own research. They're long-term projects, large-scale projects, continuing for multiple years, and students engage in these projects at multiple levels, right? So freshmen all the way up through postdoc students can be working together on these projects. And what we did with this model at VCU, we had a very strong foundation for it in our College of Engineering, is to expand the framework out across the disciplines, as well as into interdisciplinary collaborations between faculty members. And that has really opened up quite a lot of potential for the model. We've shaken the model up, the framework up a little bit. You need to be flexible with it when you're incorporating these new disciplines, but it's really been fantastic. We've been working on this for the past 2 years. moved it into a curricular credit-bearing framework, and have seen expansion really take off this past year in ways that I really couldn't have predicted. So I'm very proud of this program, and very excited about the opportunities it opens up for different disciplines outside of engineering as well. Last, I'll just talk a little bit about our expansion of co-curricular programs. So, these are the traditional undergraduate research opportunities we've been talking about since the early days, where students are engaged in, usually one-on-one or small group mentored hands-on research experiences. We've incorporated university-wide cohort programming and guided reflection in these different programs. We have over a dozen of them on campus currently. Many of them are externally funded, so we're feeling some strain as a result of the funding cuts in NIH and the challenges with NSF. We've already seen some program closures as a result. So I'm sad to say that, but to kind of end on a high note here and on a positive note, through our experiential learning initiative, students are able to get formal transcription of these non-credit bearing experiences on their transcripts now. So they're acknowledged for these experiences outside of the classroom in a formal way, in ways that previously we weren't able to do, which is really exciting. So that has been a big win for these programs. And currently we're really exploring ways on how to continue to support co-curricular programming like this when we've been so reliant on external funding to stand these kinds of programs up in the past. So I'll stop there and thank everybody, and I will hand it off to Dr. Lisa Brown at Morgan State.
All righty, thank you so much. I'm going to see if I can share my slides. All right, here we go. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lisa Brown. As mentioned, I'm at Morgan State University. I am the director of the Office of Undergraduate Research. I actually started in the Department of Biology, still an associate professor in that department. I'm also accompanied by Dr. Ryan Maltese, who's also at Morgan State University in student enrollment department. Dr. Maltese, please feel free to.
Student success and retention, but close enough.
Student success and retention, sorry.
Of course.
So I'm starting off with this picture here. I'm really proud of this picture. This photo was taken on my phone, by the way, in Hawaii at Hawaii Pacific University. We've done some collaborative work with Hawaii Pacific University. Morgan State University has a student research center, which I'll talk about in a moment. And Hawaii Pacific University modeled their student research center after our center. So I brought the governing board of students of the center to Hawaii, and they had some dual leadership development activities, and they discussed and exchanged ideas. So we're still in touch with them now. And also in the middle of the picture is our provost, Dr. Yu, who is a very, very big supporter of the Office of Undergraduate Research. So let me give you a little bit of history about Morgan State University. It's a public urban research university. It's located in Baltimore, Maryland. It serves as a leading institution in urban-focused education and research. Morgan holds a strong legacy of serving African-American students and fostering inclusive academic excellence. It is classified as an R2 institution by Carnegie, and it's recognized for high research output and growth potential. It's also designated as a national treasure. In 2016, it was named a national treasure by the National Trust for Historic Preservation. It is the first and only HBCU to receive this designation. Enrollment, approximately 10,739 undergraduate students as of fall 24, and a little over 1,700 graduate students, and Morgan continues to grow as a vibrant research community. I think I heard during conversations last week that the enrollment will probably be more than 11,000 students in the fall. So in terms of research expansion, as part of the strategic research goal, Morgan is actively working to obtain R1 research status. And I think Dr. Maltese can talk a little bit more about that as he is actively involved in the creation of the new strategic plan. And Morgan is expanding its research impact through collaborations with industry, government agencies, and other research institutions, reinforcing its role as a hub for innovation. The university is committed to fostering a diverse and inclusive research culture, ensuring all students and faculty have access to meaningful research opportunities. As such, the Office of Undergraduate Research was created. The office was actually created in 2020 during the pandemic, and it was originally supported by an NIH grant. One of the highlights of the Office of Undergraduate Research is our Student Research Center. This is an actual space on the Morgan State University campus. It's located in our science complex. The space is actually fabulous. It contains a large meeting area, conference rooms, a student e-board office, and an office for our Student Research Center coordinator. So we have a full-time coordinator that oversees all of the activities within the Student Research Center. We also have several computer stations, well, it's a printer, small kitchen, a bathroom. So membership in the Student Research Center has its perks, as only members are able to use this space. It's a student-led and student-centered organization. It's actually a registered student organization on campus, and it's partially run by the undergraduates, promoting leadership and ownership and research engagement. The SRC has a governing e-board. They must adhere to all of the Morgan State University policies for all of the student organizations. They are required to sponsor programs, and they're also required to complete 50 hours of community service. That goes for all of our organizations on campus. Their mission centers on community outreach, leadership development, academic preparation, and research productivity. And again, all of these activities are created, organized, and implemented by the students that are a member of this Student Research Center. So this is the center of the Office of Undergraduate Research. So the activities that the office actually implements and creates kind of revolve around the Student Research Center and what they do. So we have a guiding framework that consists of 3 pillars, and a little play on words here: research inspiration, where we're focused on attraction and inspiration to just spark student interest in research. And this is really where we capture the students' interest, mainly a lot of activities that are for our freshmen. So we try to attract as many of the freshmen in multiple disciplines as we can. So for example, some of the activities that we do under this pillar would include research open houses, student research panels, faculty meet and greets. We have pop-up booths that are hosted by our research ambassadors who are more seasoned students. And we also have what's called a Fall Into Your Future. That's a little play on words as well. Fall Into Your Future Graduate Careers Conference that's held in the fall. So again, this is where we try to attract and inspire students to get involved in research. Our next pillar is research in theory. This is where we try to promote a deeper understanding of research methods, ethics, and conceptual frameworks. It emphasizes ideation and academic growth through exposure to research principles and scholarships. So some of the example activities we have under this pillar would be Journal Club. We also have a Research Rookies Workshop series, and we have invited faculty research seminars. So these are faculty that are on campus that are doing research students might not normally see or get exposed to without the Student Research Center in the Office of Undergraduate Research. And then final pillar is research in practice. So it encourages innovation, implementation, and continued growth by actively engaging in students and research projects. So we have assistance in finding internships. In the fall, we'll be implementing some mini grants for undergraduate projects. And another play on words, we have a Spring into Research Week. during the spring. And this is a week-long activities that are planned, which includes an undergraduate and graduate research symposium. So research is not new to Morgan. Undergraduate research, I should say, is not new to Morgan. During our Spring into Research Week, we have an undergraduate and graduate research symposium, and this year was our 30th year of doing that symposium. But that is just one of the activities that we have during the week. I collaborate with our School of Graduate Studies, so we have a number of different panels, which are for our graduate students. We sponsor, and you may have heard this, the 3MT competition, the 3-minute thesis competition. This is the first year that we've done that. We have invited speakers. It's a week long of activities. So, and this is my last slide. A lot of the activities that the Office of Undergraduate Research has been exposed to me through CUR. I'm a CUR member. I serve on their undergraduate research division, and it has been so helpful. I was already a member of CUR prior to becoming the director. So I just jumped right in and became more active in CUR in order to really be able to implement some activities within our office. And I'm showing this because our office is very small. 3 people, director, assistant director, and the student coordinator for the research center. So I'm showing this to show that you can do quite a bit with very little. We also don't have a huge budget as well. So I'm super proud of some of the things that we've done. This is from the previous academic year. We've expanded our activities during the current academic year. And one of the things that we are working to is to be able to include more of the creative arts in inquiry. We have some silos, and most people know me because I'm in STEM. So it's been a bit of a challenge to try to let the campus know that we serve the broader community, not just the STEM disciplines, but super proud of what we've accomplished thus far. And this is my last slide.
Excellent. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you to everyone. I'm busy taking notes, and I know all y'all in the programs you're doing. It's really a great set of programs y'all are talking about, and really good models. So as we're talking, I know we want to invite, if people want to be able to ask additional questions, you can put them in the chat for us to ask. But I kind of want to begin by asking all of you the question about, as a provost, right? People ask me for money and support all the time, and I make decisions about what I'm doing based on the alignment with the strategic plan and the mission of our institution. So how do you articulate the value of supporting undergraduate research aligned with your mission to be able to get the support for all of your great programs?
I'm happy to go first. Well, for us, our why is continually going back to the Boyer report. The first Boyer report and the 2030 report. That's in the vocabulary here, and we've been fortunate over time. The strategic plan for our institution has just started to align with those same values. So constantly re-emphasizing this as basically operationalizing those values in practice at our institution has been really instrumental in administrative buy-in. Fortunately, the faculty they just get it, and our students are hungry for these experiences. So after a while, it's just caught on and become a part of our culture here. So that's been instrumental. But we wouldn't have gotten to 5,000 students enrolled in our research courses every year without that constant reinforcement and re-emphasizing those values and what it's gonna do for VCU as a public R1 as well. It's reciprocal benefit is always a good thing to point to.
I love that, Herb. Jim, I know you've had some leadership transitions as you're continuing to strengthen. So what does that look like for you for being able to continue to articulate?
It's a great question, Bethany. And when our Dr. Choi, President Choi, has made this a priority, central to how do we distinguish Mizzou as a destination university for undergraduate students, and not just in the traditional bench science, but across all disciplines and engaging the humanities and the fine arts. And we've got our ASH scholars, for example, to where it's artistry and social and humanities, and so it's we talk about the Missouri method here, which is learning beyond the classroom, deeper learning within the classroom. One of my colleagues in chemistry says it's about learning, but undergraduate research is about a deeper learning. And the way he frames it, he doesn't want his students to learn chemistry. He wants them to learn how to think like a chemist.
I love
Check,
that.
check, right? And we also look at it from a strategic plan as related to our student success. And we know students are involved in these small communities of scholars that get connected with one another and get connected with a faculty member in our research circles. That also advances our undergraduate student success rates, which is also a priority for our president. But I've been in the vice provost office since 2007, and every chancellor and provost that I've worked for have been strong champions for undergraduate research. I think largely because we all benefited from that kind of experience ourselves, right? None of us went to school thinking we were going to do what we're doing. But we had the benefit of a community, and there's this belonging, but there's also caring, and there's a different level of caring when you're in that small research community.
Agreed. Excellent. So Ryan and Lisa, how about y'all?
At least I can start, and then I can look at from Lisa mentioned our strategic plan, and Jim as well. I think we all kind of look at undergraduate research, and I can tell you wholeheartedly that our president is a staunch champion of undergraduate research, and as Lisa noted, making sure that we attain Research One status in the next go around. He was a bit down, and we were close this last cycle, but that is also part of our strategic plan, as is student success, and Jim mentioned that. And one of the things that I have been really excited about at Morgan State is beyond, I guess what we would say, the traditional routes of undergraduate research, which Lisa has just been doing a phenomenal job. I mean, she couldn't, I really couldn't tell, like the undergraduate research week that she puts together. I mean, I mean, we're talking the entire student center ballroom. I mean, hundreds of students. I mean, it's phenomenal. So just wanted to kind of acknowledge her work on that. But some of the work on the other end that Morgan has started recently is kind of beyond that traditional area. We are doing research into kind of student outcomes, right? And so we're looking at like a couple of research projects that we're working on. We have partnerships with, we're in a research grant with Georgia State and University of Central Florida, looking at embedding a chatbot in the classroom, and then having students support, and looking at those kind of those outcomes and that messaging, and helping craft the language that the chatbot has. We've got another research project where we created a community of practice that is looking at the first year experience course and trying to figure out if our current FYE course works for this new generation of learner, this kind of AI enhanced post-COVID generation that, much of the materials we had just doesn't necessarily apply. And then having students kind of run focus groups and having peer mentors embedded in the classes to kind of give us that real-time feel. And so just really looking at how student outcomes and retention and progression, overall success are impacted by research that we can incorporate students in doing. And Lisa, I'll turn it over to you if you had any additional.
I was just going to mention that, again, Dr. Yu, our provost, has been just dynamic in terms of supporting the undergraduate research efforts. I've also learned that in terms of trying to have the faculty and the campus, just in general, know more about the Office of Undergraduate Research, the importance of collaborating. So, for example, the Center for Career Development and incorporating NACE competencies into undergraduate research activities as well. Now, all of a sudden, they're very interested in collaborating, including one person from each of our schools on my advisory board. Now they're more likely to say, well, let me talk to my dean and see how we can get more. So the collaboration across the campus has been very good as well in terms of moving the Office of Undergraduate Research forward.
Excellent. And I think we have time for one more question. I'm going to let Lindsay follow up with I think a brilliant set of answers.
Oh, and I promise I didn't have Lisa set me up here, but it was so beautiful what she just did. My question to you all is around ways your institution is intentionally linking undergraduate research experiences to the career development initiatives, right? That is one place where I think we've had a lot of advocacy success. I know that there's lots of states that are setting these expectations for graduates on your campus. CUR did a white paper, which I'll put in the chat in a minute, about undergraduate research skills and career readiness. But what are you doing on your campus to really ensure that that piece is linked and connected?
I'll take a quick swing. I mentioned earlier our high impact council. And so we've got a working group that have mapped the learning outcomes across all of our high impact practices to the NACE standards. So there's an alignment. And because the alignment goes back to it's all about learning. And it's really about how do we map. And then I think the challenge, and I think Ryan touched on this a bit, how do we help our students understand the learning outcomes that they're achieving across all of these high impact practice experiences that they get? And what term do we use other than a high impact practice, which is not very understandable to students because it's jargon that we understand, but not jargon that they necessarily understand because it's about learning and we need to convert it to that language in some way. But our intentionality is not just to limit it on undergraduate research, but across all of our high impact practices with a framework that ties back to NACE standards. Lindsay?
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, sorry, Ryan.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I'll just say very quickly to echo Jim, crosswalking the language between NACE competencies and the knowledge, skills, and abilities associated with research experience has been instrumental to us, and partnering with our career services office, as Lisa mentioned, like that has been instrumental. Our career services director looped me into this Work Plus initiative with Arizona State University about 3 years ago, and being part of that community has really helped reframe how we think about undergraduate research, particularly when the emphasis shifts back and forth between like internships and work integrated learning, and talking about the Venn diagram and overlap between these different practices has been critical for sure.
I was going to say the same thing as Herb, and was actually going to mention the Arizona State piece that we just met about, and they're really all in. They're doing some grants, and the other thing that we do as part of our second year experience is we actually provide scholarships for students, many of whom conduct research, and part of that kind of application really challenges the student to tie the research to the career preparation. How does this kind of impact what it is you want to do, and what are some of the things that you gain from this experience that will prepare you for future, not just academic but career success. And so we are early in that journey. I'm really excited to see what Brandy and the folks at Arizona State are doing with the Work Integrated Learning Project, and if we can find a space there. And Herb, sounds like you guys are looking at it too, but I think that is kind of also revolutionary in terms of engaging students to know more about, hey, even this Philosophy 109 course, right, is preparing me for critical thinking, for written expression, or communication, all of these base competencies that we really hadn't quite figured out how to, like kind of perfectly blend into the research experience.
Well, y'all, that is fabulous. Lisa, did you want to say anything before we wrap up? I think, I mean, I recognize we're getting right at the end of our time and people are beginning to drop off because they've got things to go to. Y'all are brilliant, and I'm writing things down left and right for this, and I love hearing all these ideas, and it is both the heart of what we do at UERU and what we do at CUR. And so I think, Steve, we want to take you up on that to be able to say, let's get back together at the UERU and AAC and U meeting. Have a co-sponsored forum at CUR, because but with CUR to be able to have this conversation, because I think y'all have so much to share for a larger audience too. But I see so many friends there in the audience. I want to thank you all for being here, and I want to turn it over to Steve for his last wrap up. Thank you, Lindsay, too, for being my partner in all the things.
Yeah, that's my wrap up, which is on behalf of all the folks who joined us today and all who will benefit from this recording. Thanks to you all, our colleagues at CUR, our university colleagues. This was fantastic. And as Bethany's saying, we will follow up. We'll have additional opportunities for learning and engagement. So thanks for everyone. Thanks for our presenters. Have a great rest of your day. Bye now.
Thank you. Bye.